Good morning. This webinar is on Retail Pro Mobile POS, right? We will be focusing on those options that are available both for version 8, version 9, and in the newest product, Prism. So we are focusing mostly on mobile POS. I will briefly discuss what other mobile apps are available. That's the first thing that we cover, just to differentiate between whether you are mobile POS, right, mobile inventory, mobile receiving, mobile physical inventory. That's a different product, and we don't, focus on that in this webinar. All right, so I have a PowerPoint up here that walks us through the content of the webinar. Right, for any of you who might be tuning in late, you will receive an email link if you signed up for this with the link back to this recorded webinar as soon as we post it. Okay, so first thing that we talk about is what's mobile POS versus, right, other mobile apps that are available for version 8, version 9, version 9 only, Prism, etc. First, the Foundry Logic application is an application that can go on a mobile device. It can go on a smartphone. It can go on an iPad, right? And it's designed, there are two separate applications. One is the POS, which we'll be discussing in detail today. The other one is this inventory scanner and line buster, right? So both the mobile POS and the inventory app, right, are both the Retail Pro version 8 and version 9 compatible. Okay, so that's an advantage if you're still on version 8. And the mobile POS, right, basically that allows you to list items on a sales receipt, take payment if you're configured to do so, then transfer an email the customer receipt and or print a customer receipt from the actual mobile device, right? And then the transaction flows over into Retail Pro, over wireless access. So in general, that's what mobile POS is in Foundry Logic. The inventory scanner and line buster, basically this is an app separate from the mobile POS that can sit on an iPad, an Android. It also can be loaded onto some specific hardware, right? We've got a Zebra device called a TC20. I don't have a picture of it, but you can put the inventory scanning Foundry Logic app on that, right? So that you can take physical inventory, receive merchandise by scanning it, and a host of other things. That's not what we'll be discussing today, but Foundry Logic does have two separate products here, so good to talk about. Now, the other product that we'll be talking about is Retail Pro's Prism product, right? That is strictly compatible with version 9 only. It is not compatible with version 8, right? It has a POS app. It also has full capability to run your inventory control, right? So add items, create purchase orders, voucher things in, on and on and on and on. We'll just be looking at the actual POS app of it. You can use the Prism app for mobile POS as a front end to your version 9, right? And that's kind of what we'll be showing today. But Prism is a fully functional inventory control system on its own. All right, so first, I'm going to dispense with my my outline here for just a sec, right, and get connected up. Make sure I've got my my app up. 1 sec. Okay, so I have an iPad in my hand, a small one, little guy. Okay, and so I can put on the screen. There we go. So this allows you to see the iPad that I have in my hand, right? And what we're looking at here is the main screen after you get signed into Prism, right? So as I said, actually, no, we're not doing Prism yet. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, go to the mobile POS app, right? So mobile POS, we're gonna do Foundry Logic first, right? So mobile POS or the Foundry Logic app, you use your Windows or your Retail Pro logins, right? So bear with me while I log in here, right? And then this orientation is probably a little better, right? Here's some transactions that are sitting on my screen that haven't been set over to Retail Pro, but our goal today is just to show you quickly, right, how to ring a sale, right, and what capabilities you have, right? So if I click up here in the new, okay, then I've got a sale started. So I can add a customer. So down here, you see the customer icon down here at the bottom. If I click that up, I can pick from a list of existing customers. If my customer doesn't exist, right, I can click new and add a new customer. For the first transaction, I'm just going to pick one off the list. So I'm going to pick this Facebook customer, right? And then it'll show the pertinent details about the customer, so I can change these, verify them, whatever. If I decide this is the customer I want to use, right, click the select button up here, right? And so now I've attached this transaction to a customer, right? And now I need to list my items. Now, the devices have some a sled or something of that nature that has a scanner on it, right? I can't physically show you that, but what I'm going to do is just pick from a list, right? So this icon down here at the bottom, the little inbox tray or whatever, that's my inventory search. So if I am not scanning barcodes, basically I have a list here and I can use my search feature here to say, show me things that start with, A, right? And it'll filter to that. So similar to the way you use the search in Retail Pro itself, right? So when you select one of the items on here, this thing apparently only comes in one size, right? So you can verify you've got the right item. You hit the select button right up here in the upper right corner, right? And that will list it on the receipt, okay, at the whatever the current retail is. If you want to modify that, then you just tap on the line item. Maybe tap a little harder. There we go. And if you wanted to take a discount, this one has an automatic discount on it for some reason, right? Oh, the customer, right? So the customer that I selected automatically gets 10%, right? So you can see this here, right? If you want to interfere with that, right, you can change that by clicking here and entering a different percent. Okay, and then hitting the back button once you've got your and we're going to pick a reason, right? And then that altered the discount, right, for that item. Okay, so we're going to go through a complete straight sale here, right? So checkout, okay, and then my credit cards aren't hooked up here, but if you have credit cards hooked up here, you hit the little credit card icon down at the bottom, okay, and then we're if you have this attached to like the Cayenne Mini Genius device or anything like that, you can make a credit card sale complete on this device, right? Get the authorization, everything that's necessary. I'm just going to show cashing it out as a sale, right? So that's the little $sign down here, right? You can split tender. So if I needed to change the amount there, I could, right? But I'm going to click OK, right? And now the sale's satisfied. So I'm going to use the finish up here in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, now I selected a customer and I have an email on file, right? So I could email a receipt, right? So you can set up, email services on your mobile device so that you can directly email You could fill, if you're not attaching it to a customer, you could fill in an email address, and it would give you the option of saving it to a customer record. But if you're if you're done here, right, and you don't need to print a receipt, you click the Done button. If you do want to print a receipt, we have Bluetooth printers that print direct, right? There's other ways of doing it, but you can email and optionally print, or print and optionally email, right, if you configure a printer, right? So we're done with this one. I'm going to hit the Done, right? Now you can see this receipt up right here with the checkbox. What that means, right, is that it's flown over, right, to Retail Pro over the wireless, right? So I'm going to open Retail Pro up. We'll minimize this to get it out of the way, right? I'll refresh it, and here's our transaction that we just created, right? So, I won't say instantaneously, but pretty quickly, right? That transaction flows over into Retail Pro version 9, 8 if you're using it, and becomes part of your sales for the day. You can control the workstation number that it's attached to. You can see I've got a way different receipt number sequence, right? So it's easy to pick out what was remote and what was not, right? And so that's the basics of ringing a sale, right, on our mobile POS, right? So I'm going to highlight a couple of other features, right? So if I click the New button here up in the upper right-hand corner, right, it's going to create a new sale. I'm going to show you this. Oops, I guess you want to see it, right? There we go. The new button. Now I've got a new sale. So this icon down at the bottom, right, gets you to the transaction details. If you need to change the tax, if you want to put a discount, right, on the whole sale, POS flags if you're using them, comments, ship to address. So most of the things that are available in Retail Pro 9 proper, right, allow you to do the same thing at the point of sale. Okay, so you can, of course, ring a sale without a customer. Okay, you can add a customer on the fly. If you add a new customer in the application, right, then it'll automatically flow over into Retail Pro, and you'll capture that information. Right. So essentially, with the Foundry Logic product, right, you have the ability to, if it's configured with credit cards, on email and printing, right, you have a fully functional mobile POS that you can carry around as long as you're within, wireless access, right, of the Retail Pro version 9, right. So this does not really operate standalone as far as taking it out, outside of the wireless connection to Retail Pro, right? So it needs to be able to send these transactions to Retail Pro, and so it works best where you have wireless in a local environment. All right, so the other feature, let me bring my outline up again here, right, and minimize this, right? So, you actually can scan, right? You're loaded up to Retail Pro in real time. You can add new customers. The one thing here, parking the sale, right? So a lot of people use these mobile products, right, to bust their lines, right? So they got a big line, so they do like they do at Costco. They walk up to next person in line and start making a list of their stuff and then transferring it over to Retail Pro. So I can show you real quick how that works. I've actually started a sale here. There we go. I've actually started a sale, right? So I'm going to just pick some items off my list here. Pick this, right? That size. And if you're really doing this, you would be, the other thing is we have images available. I don't think I actually have an image, right, on this thing. But you have images available, so you can pull it up and make sure you pick the right one. Sneaker, right? And so I'm going to go pick something else here, whatever this 333 thing is here, and select that, right? So scan, 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 right? And then if you want to download just this list without tendering it, right, what you do is you go to the checkout, right, and see the icon down at the bottom here, that's the Send to Retail Pro icon, right? So you can make a whole list of things without dealing with the tender, okay? Click on, you go to checkout, click on this little upload, essentially, right? And you have a choice here, right, of send as held receipt, right? So if I click on send as held receipt, okay, that's actually going to send it over to Retail Pro proper. Oh, if I had it configured properly. And you would be able to pull this out of Retail Pro over on the Retail Pro 9. All right, anyway, so that's the things on the list here that we're supposed to cover here, just to give you a flavor of what this can do. Okay, and let's see. So search capabilities on this, you know, the mobile application has your full inventory list with your on hand, multi-store, only in V9 it says here. We can put images on it. You've got your full customer database, right? And as I showed you the other elements of the bottom of the receipt, POS flags, et cetera, right? So you should be able to do everything you need to do, right, in POS, okay, including saving a transaction for later. Okay, so let's just get rid of this, right? Okay, all right, so the next, here's a couple of pictures, right, of the way of previous equipment that we've used here, right? Only the one on the right, I believe, is current, right? You can see it's got like a small iPad in it. The iPad I have in my hand, right, is like a 5x7 iPad, right? And we have equipment now that has these, what we call sleds, right, that you can put it in here, and then you can see the credit card swiper that's embedded in it, and they also have a scanner embedded in it. So there's a scanner right here, right, in this one, a scanner right here in this one. So there's a sled available to use certain iPods, right? So obviously, you know, iPods change faster than any of us care to keep up, but certain form factors of the iPad, they make sleds for, right? So that you can have the swiper, right, and you can have the credit card or the barcode scanner. All right, so moving on. Yeah, so you have all the advantages here, right, of PCI compliance with here, right? So we just want to point that out. With the Prism product as well, you have that. All right, so just in general, this is how the flow of information goes, right? As I mentioned, right, you can't use the Foundry Logic product, right, without having V9 to send the transactions to and to bring the items to, right? So this is just a diagram of the way it works. So Retail Mobile Services, right, is an application that sits on the computer where your version 9 is, right? And if I pop this up, right, this is Retail Pro Mobile Manager. This has to be running, right, somewhere within the wireless network, right, of the mobile POS. And this manages the inventory upload. If I can find it, yeah, there's the inventory upload, and then all of the configuration for workstation number, receipt number, how the credit card stuff is all done. It's all done in Retail Pro Mobile Services and uploaded to the devices, right? So the credit card, if you're using it, right, goes from the device to the payment gateway, okay, and then back to the device, and then to Retail Pro 8 or 9, right? So you can see this, the way the data flow goes, right? Everything has to go through Retail Pro Mobile Services, right? And then in and out of the either V8 or V9 database. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Prism, right? So this is Retail Pro's current modern product. So let me make sure that I've got my thing oriented the right way, right? So this is the Prism product. Make it nice and big so everybody can see, right? So we're going to go through a simple sale in the Prism, right? So this actually is the point of sale, lack of better terminology, dashboard, right? So all of these tabs, right, have to do with point of sale in particular, right? Might back up here and see if I can get to, yeah. So here, right, if I see this Retail Pro icon down in the bottom, right, I can get to the other parts of Prism, right, just to show you. This is a fully featured product that we're looking at. We're focusing on the point of sale for this demo, but this product can run your whole business. Okay, and it's browser-based, right? So what that means, right, is that you can use Prism on an iPad. You can use it on a Surface Pro. You can use it on an Android device. You can use it on a run-of-the-mill desktop computer because it's browser-based, right? So we're going to this IP address and a certain port to run Prism, right? And so the view, right, is scalable, right? So if I turn my iPad, right, and change the orientation, you can see it adjusts, right? Retail Pro products for the past, version 9, version 8, or whatever, you know, weren't even close to this. That's the advantage of browser-based, right? Okay, and so that's, you know, one big thing about this. You can use it on multi-devices, right? So I'm just going to run a regular old transaction here, right? So new transaction. Okay, and then again here, right, depending on what kind of device you're using, right, you're going to enter, I don't have a scanner, right, so I have to enter an ALU manually, bear with me. Okay, so what I did was I took an ALU where I have more than one choice, right, so if you're typing things in, you have a kind of a built-in search function, right, you can pick one of these, right, so I'm just going to select the top item here, okay, right, and so you can see here in the middle, right, this one has an image, isn't that special, right, and then if you're going to modify it, you use this little bar here, right, so if you're going to change the quantity, right, you hit the little bar and you can change the quantity. If you're going to discount, right, you can hit the word discount here, right, in the little bar, and that puts you in to, come on, guess I got to verify the quantity first, right, and then discount by what, let's say 1%, okay, and then what percent, come on, percent. Okay, let's just go into details and see if we can make this happen. All right, so seem to have gone to Neverland here. There we go. It was taking its time. Okay, so we're going to cancel this, right? So our quantity stays at 1. We're going to go to discount. We're going to hit percent, and we're going to be patient until it asks us for the percent. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take 10% off here. Okay, pick a reason. Right, now I've taken 1%. Right, so all these bars across the bottom, right, allow you to modify existing item. Right, so you know, you can you know, make a sale. You can add a returned item to the sale. One thing about Prism, right, that's different from both V8 and V9 is that you can, in the same transaction, you can sell something and also create a sales order. in the same item, right? So that's something that's different. I'm not going to actually go through that, but I just like to point that out, right? That's a major difference between the Prism product and previous version 9 iterations. All right, so we've got our item listed here, right? We've got a customer lookup up here. There are search functions, right? So if I come up to last name, right, and I type in Smith, S-M-I-T-H, right, it will show me everything that matches, right? And then I can pick the Smith that I want. Okay, so I'm just going to pick one, right? If you were going to create a new one, right, there's a new button there, and you can create a new customer and attach this transaction to the new customer. Pretty self-explanatory. If you want to look at, you know, this, I'm hitting the transaction details here, right? So you can see this is what we've got for the total, right? Analogous to the Foundry logic for the bottom. If you're going to take a global discount, add fees, right? That's how you get to that. Okay, so we're going to close that. We're going to tender it, right? So if I hit the tender button, okay, you can set this to default, right, to the form of tender that you take the most, right? And if that's not what you're going to take on this transaction, okay, then you use the tender type button that's here at the bottom, right? So if I hit tender type button, it's going to allow me to change the tender, right? So this is something that's different than the way 8 or 9 does things, right? It was harder to prioritize. But if you're always going to take, you know, credit cards as your primary, then, you know, you can make it default to that. You hit the take button, right, if you're not changing it, okay? And then now I have tendered the sale, right? And so update or print update can be, are now visible, right? So if I print an update, okay, I can set the system up, right, so that it defaults to a specific printer, specific design, one different design for email and print if you want. This one happens to be attached to the same ones, right? But the choice here, right, this is all configurable. If you want it to default and give you a choice, right, then you can print and email, right, if you want. You can just email, you can just print, or you can say none of the above. I'm going to show you a preview, right, of what the doc design looks like, just so you can see it. Okay, this is just a basic doc design similar to what we do in 8 and 9, right? So if you want to view it first and then decide to print an email, you can absolutely do that. You set up an email, you know, server here, right, to automatically think email. I don't believe I had it set up here. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Okay. You know, sending emails once you have it configured is pretty easy. Then it defaults back to create another sale, right? So the Prism product, you know, if you notice, we got a lot of capability for, you know, images, fancy stuff. It's scalable, so there really isn't a lot of screen design like there is in V8 or V9, right? There is some, but it's, you know, generally not necessary. All right, so let's look at our outline again. Let's see if I missed anything. Yeah. So, you know, the only thing I really didn't cover here was searching in Retail Pro. So let's look at that really quick. Right, so I've got this item lookup up here, right? And so if somebody brings me something that doesn't have a barcode, what do I do, right? With the item lookup, got a couple options, right? So in item lookup, if I know, you know, part of what the name or something is, right? So if I type in A and then I go to using wildcard, right? So anything that starts with an A, this is going to return way more things than I care to look at, right? But I just want to show you quickly, right, what happens there, right? So Here is it tells you you got way more stuff than you really need to page through, right? So you maybe make another decision. But you can see I've got all the items. I can tell the system up here at the top to change the way they're sorted, right? So sort by size, right? Okay, so and to resort it. So the way that it does the item lookups is a little bit similar to what you can do in version 9, way ahead of what you can do in version 8, right? So you can search that way. You can select an item, okay, and that will list it on the document, right? So that's one thing that we like to point out in this webinar, just to make sure that people see that. Okay, let me, I'll minimize back here. Is there anything else of note that we need to talk about here? All right, so this display kind of shows you the variety of devices, right, that we could put on it. This is what the Cayenne Swiper can look like. It's a little plug-in that goes right onto the device, right? USB port, possibly the power port, depending on the device, right? But all manner of devices, anywhere from a full-blown computer / all-in-one, right, down to a smartphone. Okay, and then we talk a little bit about how Prism is deployed, right? So Prism does have the capability, right, of being on the front end and communicating to the backside over the cloud, right? Unlike the Foundry Logic product, right? So you could theoretically, right, take your POS, on the road, right? And so that is more, let's see, like we're going to get polling with Prism workstations and/or tablets, iPads, right? So yeah, this diagram here shows what I was just talking about. They're running directly over the cloud to a server. So they're, currently, right, there's some kind of V9 in the back, right? There is some local MySQL database capability, which is this one on the right, right? So the Retail Pro server in the back, but there's a local MySQL database here that serves multiple Prism devices, right? And ultimately everything's pulled up to version 9. Okay, and then this, right, is an actual version 9 server, this one in the middle, right? So version 9 server, polling this way, right? But a local version 9 server as opposed to local MySQL. Okay, so there's advantages and disadvantages to all these deployment options, right? And so if you're interested in exploring those, then we can spend a little time with sales or one of us trainers, right, to go over your specific needs. Okay, and just before we sign off here, we show the difference, right, between the mobile POS, right, and the inventory scanners, right? So the two devices on the right here, Retail Pro, Janum, the XP30, right, and the Percon PT. And these are old school devices used for physical inventory mostly, right? And we rent both of these devices for physical inventories. You can't buy these anymore, but if you have these devices, right, you would not be able to do mobile POS on these devices. You can use the Janum has an onboard app called SmartScan that can help you do physical inventory. The Percon basically just makes a list of items to dump into a zone in the physical inventory, if you're familiar with that. Okay, on the other hand, these Foundry Logic devices over here on the side here, these are designed hardware-wise, right, specifically to use the Foundry Logic app for inventory control, right, not mobile POS. Okay, so we just want to make that distinction. So, if you're talking to somebody here or you're thinking about doing this, these devices are for physical inventory only, not mobile POS. Okay, even though this set over here on the left does use Foundry Logic. It's just a different app. Okay, so that's the end of our of our text that we usually cover here, right? So if you're watching this webinar and accessed it either through the email link, right, or that's posted on our website, if you have any further questions, please give us a call, right? 1-800-777-37776, right? Or email sales@bighairydog.com or service@bighairydog.com if you have questions, and we can put you in touch with the right people, right, in order to finish answering your questions. Thanks for your attention, right, and hope to see you on the next webinar.